Y'all, first of all, hello. I hope y'all are having a good night. Thank you for joining me. I hope you watch this video all the way through. I'm going to be talking about something that needs to be talked about. It's overdue, and I'm going to get into it this morning. Right now, it is 3:45 in the morning. It's kind of chilly, which is why you see me with my toboggan on and my scarf. So, we're going to talk about customer service is dead. It's dead. We may as well face it. It's over. We shouldn't expect to go anywhere and get good customer service. If anything, we're going to get bare minimum and just enough customer service. I'm going to tell you about an incident that happened to me, and some of y'all may not believe it. Some of y'all may believe it. Some of y'all, it probably has happened to y'all. So we're going to get into it. If you want to hear about it, come on, let's go. So I cannot say the name of the company because I am in the middle of a civil lawsuit against them. And so, but I still can tell my story without saying the name of the company. So it was at a real popular chicken restaurant, fast food restaurant, whatever you want to call it. I placed my order online through the app because I was working in between and I wanted to just stop and get me some lunch. So I placed my order online and it told me what time it was going to be ready. So I got to the ordering machine and I was a little bit early. I probably was about 9 minutes before it was supposed to be ready. So I get to the ordering machine and I tell them, hello, I'm here to pick up my online order for Cherie. And the woman said, you got to come in. All DoorDash and online orders got to come in. And I said, well, ma'am, it's pouring down raining. No, I don't want to come inside. That was the first time I had ever heard of that. She said, you got to come inside for online orders. I said, no, I'm not coming inside. It's pouring down raining. So I drove around to the window. I felt it in my soul that it was going to be a problem. Now, mind you, I pick up deliveries from this company. I pick up other people's delivery. I have ordered from this place many times. So I get to the window. And it was a little black girl. She was very rude. She said, didn't I tell you got to come inside? I said, yes, you did tell me I got to come inside. And I told you that I'm not coming inside because it's pouring down raining and it's cold out here. Now, this incident happened, I want to say it was the 23rd, December 23rd. So it was chilly. And she yelled to somebody. It was the manager. She said, she don't want to come inside. Well, the manager was a white lady. She yelled and said, well, tell her it ain't ready. Good God. So I know now who I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with some ghetto ass people. The lady said, you're going to have to come in. And I said, I'm telling you, I'm not coming in. Y'all cannot make me come in. What is y'all's problem? I'm a grown woman. You cannot make me come in. I've already paid y'all my money. What is the problem? It ain't nobody behind me. At that point, it was nobody behind me. So she said, the little black girl slammed the window and I just sat there waiting on my food because she said it wasn't ready. Now, they do have a second window that they normally pull people to who's waiting, people whose food is not ready. She never said pull it to the second window. The manager, the white lady, comes to the window. She said, hey, I'm going to give you this food, but next time you're going to have to come in. I said, you know what? There ain't going to be no next time. This is my very last time eating at this place. And she said, well, here go your food. And she never gave me my drink. I had a drink too. Okay, so this company is known for getting your order wrong. Absolutely, they are known for getting your order wrong. So when she handed me my food, about 2 people had pulled up behind me in the drive-thru. So I opened the sack and started going through my order to make sure it's right. So the white lady the manager had walked off after she gave me my food. So the black girl who was running the window, she said, okay, you can get away from in front of my window. And I was like, when I get through checking my order, I said, matter of fact, my order is wrong. Y'all put sauce on the wings and I did not want sauce on the wings. She said, oh my God. And I said, are you all right? Are you all right? Because I don't know what your problem is. Y'all are kind of aggressive today and I'm a customer. So I said, my order is wrong. Y'all put sauce on all of my wings. I don't want my wings soggy. I want to be able to dip my wings in the little sauce. So she said, well, I tried to hand her the food. She said, I can't take that. And I said, okay. She said, pull to the second window. I said, no. I said, because the way y'all are aggressive, y'all are just going to make me sit at the second window. And you're going to take care of me right now in the window. You can't get to the people behind me until you take care of me. So the manager came to the window. She said, you're going to have to get out this window. I got people behind you that we got to get to. I said, no, while y'all are messing with me and bullying me, y'all could be working on my food. And I still ain't got my drink. The manager said, we're going to call the cops. I said, ma'am, do whatever you got to do. Call the cops. I just need my food so I can go back to work. So they closed the window. Didn't say nothing else to me. Probably about 5 minutes later, a tall black guy who worked in the kitchen, he came to the window. He said, hey, look, you're going to have to get on to the next window. You have to get on. And I said, I looked around. I said, who are you talking to? He said, you're going to have to get out the window. You're going to have to, come on, you're going to have to go. You're going to have to get on. I said, so then that's when I got ghetto. I said, hey, bro, I don't know who you're talking to like that, but I'm not your bitch. And I said it just like that. I said, you need to take your ass back in that kitchen and fry other people's chicken, but you don't get to talk to me like that. Do you understand me? So he slammed the window. So then I'm just sitting there. Y'all, I sat in the window for about 20 minutes. So the black girl comes back to the window. So she started telling people behind me to come on around to the second window and she was going to serve them there. So at this point, nobody else said nothing else to me. So mind you, I had been sitting in the window almost 30 minutes. So finally the police pulls up on my passenger side and it was a white police officer. He pulls up and I looked over to the side. My window was up. So the cop said, so I rolled my window down and I looked over there and the cop said, so you're just going to not act like an adult today? You're going to cause problems? That's the first thing out of the white cop's mouth. So you're not going to act like an adult today? You're just going to cause problems? I said, what? What are you talking about? He said, just what I said. I said, well, I don't understand what you're talking about because you're pulling up on me aggressive. And he said, well, how about we pull out the window and let's go talk? I said, okay, I'll pull up to the parking space. So he followed me into the parking space on the side of me. Well, when he was coming up on my car, I was putting on my mask because I do wear a mask. I keep a mask handy. So because I do deliveries and I'm in and out of restaurants and a lot of people and it's flu season, COVID is still around, so I want to protect myself. So as soon as the cop walked up on me, he said, whoa, are you sick? And I said, no, I'm protecting myself from people like you. He said, okay. Well, he started sniffing. And I said, are you sick? Because you're sniffing. And you're sniffing, it sounds wet. And he said, well, I'm just now getting over a cold. I said, well, that's why I wear my mask. He said, that's cool. That's fine. I have no problem with that. He said, so what's going on here? I said, well, no, I have a question. Why did you pull up on me and say I'm not acting like an adult? Is that how you pull up on people when you pull into a situation? And he said, well, I'm just going off of what they said. I said, oh, okay, so you take their word. You hadn't even talked to the paying customer. Don't you think that it's a reason why I'm still sitting here at this window? I never cussed nobody out. I never pulled a gun on nobody. I never was aggressive. They have cameras in there. They can pull the camera and you can see, because apparently you believe them. You can see how it took 3 of them. They were ganging up on me. I said, he said, because they were trying to get you out the window. I said, I already gave them my money. So I said, let me just tell you what happened. The real story. And you can, do whatever you want to do. And he was taking the report. He had his little camera on his thing. He had his body cam on. And I asked him to stand so his camera can face me and get everything. And I told him I was recording. And he said, well, okay, that's fine. So when I told him I was recording, he kind of piped down a little bit. So I told him they wanted me to come in. I said, it's raining. I said, you get paid to stand in the rain. I don't. I want to sit in my car and pick up my food. That's why they have a drive-through. And I told him what had happened. I hadn't even told y'all this part because I wanted to wait to this part right here. I said, the little black girl that runs the window, I said, she assaulted me. And he said, really? I said, do you see my shirt? He said, yeah, it's wet. He said, what happened with that? I said, well, once she came back to the window and they stopped talking to me. But before they stopped talking to me, I asked her, can I at least get my drink while I'm waiting on my wings to be remade? The girl, when she opened the window, she said something about, oh, you getting on my nerves or something. I can't remember verbatim what the girl said. And I said, what is your damn problem? And I manager and the little black girl, they came out, but he had them to stand back. So he said, give me just a second. Let me go and converse with them. So he went back there and he was talking to them. And he come back and he said, well, they saying that she didn't assault you. I said, who said that they didn't assault me? Who is they? He said, the manager and the black girl. I said, how do you think my shirt got wet? He said, well, I don't know. I said, you know what? I know you're already believing them. So nothing I say, you're going to believe. So how about we do this? I've given you my report. You don't believe me. I'm going to have my attorney do the rest. I no longer want to talk to you. I said, can you ask him about my refund? Can you do that? He said, let me go back and ask him about your refund. He come back. He said, they said you got to deal with it online. I said, okay, that's cool. That's no problem. I'll get my money back. Are we done here? We done? He said, yeah, we're done. He gave me a little card. But yeah, he said you got to go online and get your refund. I said, okay, that's cool. I said, I hope you have a good day. And he said, I hope you have a good day. Sorry, all this. I said, it's all good, sir. You have a good day. Bye. I rolled my window up. He was still trying to talk. So that brings me to where we are now. So after I left him, I got in contact with my attorney and I let him know what was going on, what had happened at this chicken place. So I meant to tell y'all that last time when the cop came back to my car and told me that I got to go online and get my refund, he said, oh, and they gave me a message to give you that you are banned from not only this restaurant, but all restaurants. I said, I'm banned. I said, how they gonna ban me? I had already told them I'm never coming back to eat at this place again. I said, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay. They're just trying to be funny. I said, but what are you gonna do about her assaulting me? Is that just gonna ride? And he said, well, they're saying that they didn't. You're saying that they did. So I don't have any proof. So that's when I forgot. That's when I showed him. I told him, I said, what would you say if I had a video? Oh, he said, that would change the situation. I said, I have a video. I said, because she was acting so crazy. Her and her manager and the kitchen guy. I started recording. I said, I was recording her when she tossed the drink at me. He said, I would love to see that. He said, let me see your phone. I said, no, I'm not going to hand you my phone. You're standing right here. I'm sitting right here. I can just show you. I can just start playing the video and you can see it. And so he was looking at the video on my phone. Well, he had asked me, he said, why can't I hold your phone? I said, sir, I don't let nobody hold my phone. You're standing there. I'm sitting here. I'm showing you my phone right here. I don't want nothing to happen to my phone. So if you don't mind, just watch it from here. And he said, oh, look at her. Wow. He said, she's very aggressive. I said, do you see what I'm saying? I tried to tell you that. I said, you don't hear me cussing or anything. You hear me say, what the hell? I said, when I say what the hell, when she hit me with the ice and the liquid, I could have put my car in drive, drove around the building, and went to go inside and beat her ass. But y'all would have took me to jail because that would have been premeditation, me going to assault somebody. So I said, you know what? I'm going to fight them in their pocket. I'm going to fight her company. So he said, oh, that is absolutely assault. I said, yeah, I know. What you going to do about it? And he said, well, at this point, I'm going to have to put her under arrest. I said, well, let's see. Let's see you do your job. So he went over there, said something to the girl and the manager, and he said, I heard him say, so-and-so, whatever her name was, he said, you absolutely did throw the drink. You lied to me. You lied to me. Your manager lied. Y'all said, that's it because you can hear her manager. He heard her manager say, oh, no, why'd you do that? The manager knew she threw the drink at me. And he told the girl, he said, you're under arrest. And she said, no, she started to try to run to her car. Y'all, when I tell you it got crazy, the drive-thru girl tried to run to her car. So the cop told her, no, don't do that. So he ran after her to her car. He had already called for backup. So anyway, he got the girl finally. They had to take her down and put her in handcuffs. And he came back to my car. He was out of breath. I was on their property for about an hour and a half. That's how long all of this went on. And all I wanted was to pick up my food. That's all I wanted. So I wound up sitting on their property for about an hour and a half. So the cop, he came over to try, to seal the deal with our situation. He put her in the other officer's car. And he told me he was sorry all of this happened and blah, blah, blah. He's sorry that he didn't, believe me, or, how it all popped off. And I said, no problem at all. Because I knew I was going to file a complaint on him. So at this point, sir, you can apologize as much as you want. You were an asshole to me, and you had no reason to be an asshole with me. So I knew I was going to file a complaint, which I did. I filed a complaint through the city police department, and I went to internal affairs and filed a complaint on his badge number as well. So all of this stuff is still in the process, which brings me to today. The reason I can't say the name of the business is because we're still going to court. I've already went to court one time on the situation, but I got to go back again because some unfinished business on the settlement. So yeah, but I just basically wanted to come on here and to alert everybody. Be on the lookout. If you have to record, if you feel like something may go wrong, if you got that gut feeling in your soul, in your body, that something may go left, start recording, because that's going to be your only proof. These cops, they don't care about most citizens. And honestly, in particular, black people, they do not care about black people. They don't believe our word. They think all of us are troublemakers. They think all of us are lying. He proved that when he pulled up on me, talking about you're not acting like an adult, so you're just not going to act like an adult today. How you going to insult me? So yeah, I say don't ever be afraid to hit that little record button, because guess what? These police officers, they have their little recording camera on their vest. Restaurants got all their cameras in their building. Gas stations, Walmart, whatever business you go in, they got their cameras. Your camera is the only camera that is your protection. Because one thing I know, video footage can be compromised, if you know what I mean. So it's best to have your own video, just like I did. So I'll be so glad when I get this situation over with, because that didn't have to happen. They didn't have to gang up on me verbally. And so I just wanted to share that with y'all. I hope nothing like this ever happens to you all. And thank you for watching this video. If you learned something from this video, it doesn't cost you anything to give me a thumbs up, a like, or maybe a subscribe. I do want to welcome all of my new subscribers who have joined the channel. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all the love, the likes that I have gotten. If you want to share this video, it is okay to share this video. So I hope y'all have a good night and stay warm out here if you're living in a cold zone right now. I'm in the South and it is absolutely cold right now. So y'all have a good night, good morning, and I'll talk to y'all in the next video. Bye.